want to be kept by Jesus. Thou art my all and all. Hello, everybody. Sirwalterj Jones Show. I'm here. It is the evening edition. Baby. How y'all is? Come on in. The water is tired. The water is tired. Hey, I want to come here. It's late. For those of you who are on Facebook, y'all know it's late. It's 11:40 actually in the PM. For those of you who are on YouTube, well, you know it gets even later because a lot of times what I do is I'll do these shows on Facebook first and then I'll shoot it over there to YouTube and what have you. I don't know why I don't do YouTube lives. I just don't. I got to get my gear together where I can just let y'all be a part of this messology. Asan says he is too. I want to, my show is called I'm Putting Chicago, the church on trial. I'm putting the church on trial tonight. The church should have been on trial a long time ago. Blessings to you, Kevin Page. Good to see you. I'm saddened. Here's why. And some of you will go to bed, or some of you will ignore this, or some of you will just go away because I might be talking to some of my pastor friends here. All right. Let's go back. All right. Let's look at all this week. Today being Friday, all this week, if you notice, I test and try y'all quite a bit, and y'all always fall for my testing and the trials. Blessings to you, Avery Thompson. I put a post that are very controversial, Derek. I put a post that are very controversial, and I ask these questions. Sometimes I'll ask the question, I'll say, riddle me this. And today I put up a question about the book of Song of Solomon, and what is the message that God is relaying to us in this? And a lot of y'all did get quite spiritual. Yes, you did. Regina, blessing to you. A lot of y'all got quite spiritual, and I got what you were saying. And we were taught that it was about the love that Christ had for the church. And some of you said it was about Israel and what have you. And others you were talking about just the real, true, physical love from a husband and a wife. All right, or a man and a woman, because when you look at the first couple of chapters, it's really not about husband and wife. It's about a man and a woman first, and then they married each other. Then they had a relationship with each other. Yes, Annetta. All right, so I'm bringing this up as an example. But if you look on my timeline, you see how I polled and tested and tried you who are saints. I talked about the pastors and their literacy, okay? I talked about the offerings. Why does the offerings take so long in our church services? The offerings take longer than the sermons itself, than the sermons plus the A and B selections of the choir and what have you. Why is it that we do what we do in our churches? And I come to realize that a lot of our stuff is man-made, and you can't really properly find anything in the scriptures that give many of you the green light to do what you do and the rituals that you do in your church. Now, I get customs. Customs are good. They're fine. Some customs are good. They're okay. And you don't have to find these customs in the Bible. No. African Americans have a different custom of having what we call church. How we worship God is we do it customarily, differently. We do these field hollers, which is really hooping, okay? We tune up or close. It's pretty much, we borrowed it from the African field holler. That's pretty much what it is, all right? And so other cultures don't clap. They don't applaud. They don't say amen. They say nothing. Some of the Lutherans, the Church of the Chosen Frozen, all right? Some of the Presbyterian churches, okay? Some of the Methodist churches, all right? They're a little more quiet. Yeah, Michael said, go ahead and say it now. Yeah, Michael, okay? So we have different cultures. Black people, we clap on the 2 and the 4, and white people clap on the 1 and the 3, all right? And there's highly, the guitars are, and smoke on the stages, and blue jeans and stuff are worn by our Caucasian churches and our Hispanic churches and maybe in our Asian churches. But African Americans, we wear three-piece suits. You know, I'm talking about the whole vest, the whole bling, 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 and it's not more of a rock and roll setting. We may have the picture of Jesus on the wall in the back, as if you're MB Baptist or what have you. Okay. And the pulpit furniture and chairs and what have you. So different denominations, different cultures worship God differently. All right. Some have the steeple on top, and some just have more of a garage band type setting. That's the culture of man. The temple was differently. The tabernacle in the wilderness was different. I did that teaching on the whiteboard. Just go to YouTube and you'll see my teaching on that. But the tents in the wilderness was one way, and God told Moses to cater or build this tent, this tabernacle, after the tabernacle that's in heaven. All right, and so then in walked Solomon and that beautiful temple tabernacle made of gold, and it was a great setup and how they build it. And here's where my point is today on the indictment. All right, on the church. I want to talk more about the financial, and then we can do a part 2, part 3, part 4, part 5, what have you. But financially, I believe what the church is doing to poor people is a disjustice. It is heretical. It is an abomination what we've done to poor people. And I'm talking about poor people who attend our churches. Yes, yes. They don't dress up either. I got here in culture shock, but it was needed. Annetta, yeah. I moved to South Dakota, and they did not dress up. I put a tie on. They thought I was going to a wedding. I said, no, I'm going to church. You're going to where? That's their culture. There's nothing wrong with it. And African Americans, we put people in hell because they don't put suits on. It's just amazing how we can't understand how other people worship. That's how they worship God. All right? And so when you look at how they built the Solomon's temple, okay, you look at the precious commodities and the furniture inside. Okay, there was no mortgage on that building. The Jews left Egypt wealthy. I need you to hear this real close. You pastors especially, I'm talking to you. With the hopes that this message get to the what y'all call laity. That's a Catholic word, all right? The laity. No one's supposed to be a laity, meaning you just bench warmers. If you are of the Church of God, if you are of the ecclesia, then you are not a bench warmer. There's a gift that you're supposed to have, and that you are utilizing that gift or using that gift among the ecclesia and outside in the world. You should be using that. So there are nobody who's supposed to be saved today, and you're not using your gift. So if you're just coming in and being bench warmers, then something's wrong with you, and something wrong is wrong with that church. Because the gifts of the Holy Spirit, as described and laid out in 1 Corinthians chapter 12, and you go to 13 and 14 and what have you, Ephesians chapter 4 as well, we're talking about the fivefold ministry. All right, all of y'all are anointed. There is no one more anointed than this person. There's no one in your church who's saved that's not anointed. They're saved. There's no such thing as being saved and not anointed. Here's the problem. We have redefined anointing. Michael says, come on now, 1 Corinthians 12 through 14. Yep, every member should contribute to the assembly. So glad you're here, Mike. All right? Nobody in your church should ever be told that they don't have an anointing. I'm talking about those who are saved. Because to describe anointing is important. What we have to do is redefine words. So y'all taking words and you change the meanings. For instance, gay. I can't say that I'm gay today because it means homosexuality. All right. It means the origin is happy. Okay. We've hijacked certain terms, and America has done this. And if you look in the dictionary and you see many of the words that we thought that were ours, they're not ours. They're derivatives of European words from different parts of the world. You know, America don't really have much original. Even our food, a lot of times we borrow our foods from around the world. And then what we think is a part of the world, we made it. For instance, I think it was chow mein. I went to a real Chinese restaurant and ordered chow mein. I says, I want chow mein because that's real Chinese. And the Chinese man says, no, it's not. He said, no, sir. This no us. This no us. I'm like, wait a minute, that's chow mein. He said, no, we didn't create chow mein. Y'all did. Y'all said it was us. That ain't us. Right? So we don't know the origins of things, so we think it has always been that way, and it has not. So there was no mortgage on the tabernacle. Why? They left Egypt wealthy, and they stayed wealthy. And the Hebrews of that day knew how to build their own. They knew how to buy and sell among themselves. They knew how to sow and then reap. And we talk about Black Wall Street of the 1900s and the 1921 is when they burned it down. But if you go to Tulsa, Oklahoma, or if you go to YouTube and hear about Black Wall Street, these African Americans were wealthy. They were middle class. There wasn't too many poor people in that town because they all, like the first century church, had all things common. And so they didn't really have to leave what they called Negro town to really get. They didn't leave town for anything really. They had doctors right there in that small little town. The banks were there, the lawyers were there, the grocery stores were there, the barbershops were there. All right, it was a utopia in a sense. They had everything. Well, the Hebrews at that time did too. And so there was no mortgage. They didn't have to go to the world to build the tabernacle or the temple because they already had the wealth. And when they went into war, the booty or the spoil of war, they were able to capture that, and they were able to build their wealth through what God has ordained them to do. And they were taking over particular lands that what the heathens were doing. God gave them the right to take over the land and so they can rest in the land of milk and honey. All right, now. We are sojourners. We who are Christians, we even sing about these in our songs, or we talk about them. I'm just passing through. This world is not my home. Heaven is my home, okay? And you are ambassadors, so you represent another town, another land, another territory. You are aliens in a sense, brought down here, okay? So you're ambassadors, and ambassadors are sent out to represent a country, a kingdom. And ambassadors are taken care of. Their bills are taken care of. You talk to any ambassador of the United States, any envoy of the United States, they have no debt. All right, they're debt free, and they have no bad records, no criminal records, and they're not running from the law. All this stuff. All right, they're not filing for bankruptcy. None of that. They're taken care of by the country where they come from. Blessings to you, Robinson. You understand? So we keep crying that we are ambassadors of Christ, yet we are poor and struggling and suffering and wanting the world to help us. We go to the government for governmental assistance, all right? We're on the public aid system, and we are filing our churches under 501c3s because we feel that we need this, because without it we can't afford the taxes and all these things, and then it's just a mess, all right? And so yet, we get in our churches, our church buildings, and then we preach this message of we are lenders and not borrowers, because the person who lends to you, then you become a slave to the lender. Yet, we're in a building that's owned by Chase Bank, by Citicorp, by U.S. Bank, by TCB, I don't know, PCN and all these banks. How is that possible when we're in the building that we don't own? That if the offering is low one Sunday, the bank goes after us. You know how many hundreds or maybe thousands of churches went in foreclosure during that whole bubble that happened, and that financial struggle we had in 2008? You know how many churches lost their buildings because they could not afford to pay the mortgage on the building? How is it that this is God's house? that you built, and God told you to build this house, and you got a 30-year mortgage on it, and if the offerings are low, the bank is coming after that building that you said that God said for you to build. And then what do? Inside the building, you begin to find tricks of the trade. TCF Bank, thank you, Victoria. You begin to find clever ways to get monies out of the purses of these single women, these women who have children. Their fathers walked away, all right, and they're struggling. They're trying to pay their own mortgage, and now they've got to a lot of money to pay the mortgage on the building that God really never told you to build. All right, He says, "How dare you build a building for me? He says, I created the heaven, I created the earth, everything in here. I don't dwell in buildings made by man's hand. Why do you think I can dwell, me, God, dwell in this building here? Why do you think that I need to dwell in that?" All right? So then we began to find loopholes, so-called, in scriptures, because I believe that you can make the Bible say anything you want it to say. And so to justify these multi-million-dollar buildings, you go into the scriptures and you begin to pull out stuff like from Hebrew, where the writer of Hebrews, sometimes we say Paul because of the style of his writing, but he says that to forsake not the assemblies of yourself together as others were doing, but we don't tell them why he said it and what time what was going on during that time. And so I get the whole analogy of you need a building to house all of the people who join your church. So if 1,000 people join up under in a ministry where I'm the pastor, then yes, we need to house these people so that they could come out of the rain and the snow and the elements and the heat and the cold. So we need a building, absolutely. So if you got 1,000 people, can you imagine 1,000 people coming together with their finances to build a building from the ground and paid for? You know how many churches have done that? And many of those churches are white. Many of those churches actually are African Americans, but it's hard-fetched for you to find an African American church today that built their church and they paid cash for it. It's not that easy. Your forefathers built their churches, though, from the ground up, and they put their monies together, and they were debt-free. Many of our forefathers, and you may not understand this, you may not know this, but they put their monies together and they built their churches. There were no mortgages on them. And then we begin to become elaborate with it. That's right, Robinson. We don't need a 501c3. We think we need it, but we don't. And that 501c3 makes you a ward or a creature. It's in the... Most people don't even read the 501c3. They don't even read the whole thing. Like many of the politicians never read the Mueller report. They fussing over it, trying to defend it, or go against it or defend it, but they didn't read it. 501c3, the average pastor never read the whole thing. And if you really read it, you'd understand that what you've done was you've erased the sovereignty of God from it and made the government sovereign, because it calls you a creature of the state. You're a creature. You belong to the state, not God. Makes you a slave. That's right, to the governmental system. All right, and who's to blame for that? That is President Lyndon Baines Johnson. He did this for the pastors of that time in 1964, 5, 6, somewhere around there. Okay, right after the Civil Rights Bill was signed, and he did this for the pastors in the churches for a reason. George Bush Jr. came around in 2004, 5, or 6, 2006, and then he changed some things. The whole separation of church and state, he began to put that together. I don't think y'all getting any of this, all right? So we have now relied on the government for so much. Blessings to you, Fields. So good to see you. Somebody was typing. Avery says, and there was one tabernacle, therefore it was easy to pay off the mortgage because everything went into one, all these houses of God, Avery says. Here's the thing. When you have so many Jews, this might be too much for me to talk about tonight, but you have to live within a certain area of the temple, of the tabernacle, of the synagogue. You have to live within a certain area, okay? And then you did build another one depending on the size. Well, we're looking at Israel. Israel had one temple. There were about 3. There was Herod's, of course, and the system, there's a national temple there, and everybody went to Jerusalem, once a year for their rituals. We began to spread out in many of our churches. We began to spread out around the world and build these temples and tabernacles and what have you. And building them caused some problems. They needed money for the synagogue for the upkeep. When they were collecting the monies, and remember the widow's mite and what have you, they weren't collecting money for a mortgage. They were collecting money because even though they owned the building, it was debt free. Things break. Things need to be purchased. Things need to be bought. Oil need to be purchased, and lamps and the furniture within there. Things wear out. All right, they needed cleaning utensils and all kind of stuff. And also, then they had to. That was the monies. That was the monies was for. It wasn't for the mortgage or something. It would be like what we pay our monies in churches for utilities, for gas and light and what have you. I don't know. The church pay water bills. Okay. All right. For that. So the tabernacle was the same thing. It had utilities. All right. That's all the monies went for. But then God took care of the priests and the Levites through food, and that's what the tithing was for. The tithing was 10% of your crop. And if you were not a farmer, if you didn't sow in the ground, you did not pay a tithe. This is not a tithing subject matter, because whenever we talk about that, it is a very sensitive thing to talk about among people who have been driven and was born up under this system of teaching a tithe. And then when we talk about it, cognitive dissonance happens among us. And the average teaching on tithing is one book, Malachi chapter 3. They won't even read Malachi chapter 2. They can't read it. Because if they read to you Malachi chapter 2, it will erase the teaching of Malachi chapter 3. You see what's happening here? They can't take you through Numbers and Deuteronomy. They can't take you to Nehemiah, where the tithing was instituted and why. And then they'll take you to Abraham and the giving of the tithing to Melchizedek, but they won't tell you what did Abraham do with the 90% that was left of the tithing. Yeah, I know, Michael. I'm trying to get kicked out of this church. They won't kick me out of the church. I don't understand. All right. So Abraham gave a tithe, and he gave it, and it says that Levi paid a tithe while he was still in the loins of Abraham. Levi wasn't even born yet. All right. Levi was the grandson, all right, of Abraham. He wasn't even born yet he was paying a tithe and paid this tithe to Melchizedek through Abraham. And nobody's teaching that. How was that even possible? How's that possible? And then Abraham went out there and fought in a war with the king of, who was it? Was it Sodom? And he received the spoils of the booty of war, okay, and then he didn't even want, he gave this 10% of the spoil to Melchizedek, and then he didn't want the rest, so he gave the rest to the king of Sodom. He said, I just don't want it. And so if you're going to teach this tithing system to the church, you got to teach it properly. And when you don't include that, what I just did, I'm sorry. If you're going to preach out of Malachi chapter 3 and never take them to Malachi chapter 1 or 2, then what you're doing is, it is manipulative teaching. All right? All right, so, and then you tell us that we are lenders and not borrowers. No, we're not. We're not. Most Christians are borrowers. We're not lenders. For generations, we've not been lenders. We borrow because the church that you worship in every Sunday is in debt. In debt to who? The bank. Understand? And so they have to raise several offerings so that they could satisfy the bank, not God. You say, so they'll tell you to raise this money, to give sacrificially to please God. You're not pleasing God in giving sacrificially. You're pleasing the banks when you give sacrificially, because they have to make up a certain amount every week. You understand? Yeah, they tithe off the increase, not their need. I can't go here. You understand? So now, then the commission for man is to go out there, go out into the highways and byways and compel them. Go and take care of the needy, the orphans, and the widows indeed, right? And so when the tithe was instituted, then every 3 years at the end of the tithing, the scripture says, then you are to give your tithe to whom? The Levite. Then to whom? To the orphans. Then to whom? To the strangers. To whom? To the widows. All right, to these people. No one teaches that in church. No one. No one. So when you ask a person, do you ever give your tithe to poor people? You know what their answer is? That tithe belongs to God. Yes, it belongs to God. So why aren't you giving it to the poor? Because they belong to God. Then you're going against the scriptures. Or you don't know that that's even in the scriptures. And here it is right here. You don't even know that it's even in there because the people that you're listening to in church never take you there. I blame the people and I blame you. How could you possibly be a Christian for 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years, have a book in your home, that is old as dirt, and you never read through the entire book? Yet, I would show y'all my library. All these books in my library, I read them from cover to cover. Many of you have books in your home that you read from cover to cover, and some of you read them 2 and 3 times just to entertain yourself. And here is a book written to you from the creator of you, who gave his son so that you might have eternal life, a love letter to you. And you say you love him, but you won't read his love letter to you because you think the beginning part of the love letter is insignificant. It's really not about. And if you fall in love with a man, you ladies, when you fall in love with a man, you want to know everything about the man. Yes, you do. You check his credit report. You check to see if he's been in jail. You check to see if he's got a felony. If you got a misdemeanor, you ask some of the family members about him, some of the friends about him. You check, double check, and check it twice. You check it more than Santa Claus do. Yes, you do. You in love with him, but you want to make sure that when he come around your children, okay, when he come around your children, you want to be able to trust this man. You want to make sure that he's not a molester. Yes, you do. Don't lie to me. Yes, you do. You're falling in love with him, and you want to make sure this is safe. So you ask your pastor, what should I do? And then you pray, and you fast, and all these things. And God showed me this man, and I want, so you do your investigative work. Yes, you do. Stop playing. Yes, you do. But then the lover, the creator of mankind, who said he loves you with an everlasting love, wrote you a letter, and you won't even investigate to see who he is. No, you won't. You won't read his salutation at the beginning of the letter. The Old Testament is a salutation. It is the backstory. Yeah. Every great movie got a backstory. Yes, it does. Every documentary got a backstory. Yes, it does. Yeah, you want to know why she lives there. So it opens up with a setting. Yes, it does. It does. The Old Testament is the setting. Because this portion here, the end portion, is the happily ever after portion. And what we've done was we skipped the setting, and we went to the happily ever after section. But we got questions about this man who seems to love me so much and called me his bride. We're going to the end of the book and say, hey, look, I win. And then you struggle through life wondering why this ain't working for you and that ain't working for you. And I'm doing these rituals that you told me to do, and it ain't working for you. Why? Because at the beginning of the story, there were a group of people who you need to study and understand. God loved those people. And when I tell people to read the Bible by understanding 2 groups of people, when you don't understand both groups of people and how separate yet together they are, you will never understand the plan of salvation fully. You will love God and you still will die and go to heaven. You can, yes. But to understand the whole plan of God and salvation and ignore the Old Testament, you'll never understand fully his love for you. You'll never understand it. And he used the example of his love for you by what he did in the dealings that he had with the Jewish people. It's called dispensation. And these dispensations was trial and testings of those people that he loved. And he said, I love you forever. And he told them to do certain things. And he told them to do this forever. He didn't tell them do it for a season and then stop it. He said, do this forever. All right. So we may not see them doing the things that they were doing in the Old Testament with the blood sacrifices and the dietary laws and what have you, Leviticus. We may not see them doing that today, but they're going to go back and do it again. And further in the end time, when you go into the book of Revelation, the blood sacrifices will be reinstated. Why? The reason why there's no blood sacrifices today is because there's no temple. There's no national temple. Somebody burned it down and played the fiddle and blamed it on the Christians. Okay? All right? So there is no national temple. They don't even tithe. Why? There is no national temple. If there's no temple, there's no Levites to serve in the temple. So, why do we do it? Because somebody told us to do it, and we never questioned them. And then we built buildings, million-dollar edifices, and we struggle and scratch and go to payday loans, okay, and doing doubles on your job just so that you can make sure that this building's upkeep is up to par and your house is falling in on you. You call your utility company and say, I can't do it this time because the pastor's anniversary is going on. The choir anniversary, the usher anniversary, the jurisdictional meetings, the holy convocation is going on, and we're doing a fundraiser, a building fund, and all kinds of stuff, chicken dinners, all that. And then you leave your house to its devices, and it falls in while you're trying to take care of the church house, a building that God really never told you to build. And then you fleece the people to make sure that this building is taken care of. And I literally heard y'all say, church first, and then your home second. I literally heard pastors say, you don't pay your bills first, you pay God's bills first, the church. I've heard you say, well, put the church in your life insurance policies. You make sure you take care of the church. The church, when they say church, they're talking about the building. You understand what I'm saying? They're talking about the building, the structure. They don't want to lose the structure. You see? They got to make sure they tell you these things. Now, I have been paid handsomely by the church because I'm like a hireling. I'm like what the Levites were then. They were paid. They of course, their payment, God took care of them through the tithing, but that was food. It wasn't money. The offerings were the money, but the tithing was the food. You understand? And a percentage of your crop went to the Levites, and then the Levites had to pay a percentage to the priests. God says, I got to take care of you because you have no inheritance. You have no land like the other tribes. I'm going to take care of you here in the temple, but you stay in the temple, though. You work in the temple. You don't have a secular job. So I was serving as a Levite in our church for many years. Generations of Joneses served as Levites. We were the musicians in the church. Okay? And we got paid for that. We still do. The church still. I just did an event tonight, and they took care of me. That's just the way it is. But if they decide to not take care of me, I'm going to be taken care of. Why? Because the Lord has given me witty invention. He has given me ideas to structure my business. I'm a business owner. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm also an author. Shameless plug. I authored this book. And every time people pick it up, they can't put it down. All right? This one's dirty. I don't know what this is. All right? The 4 Women That Men Desire. And this is one of several books that I'm writing. I got 7 books that's in the computer, waiting for its moments. All right? This volume 1, volume 2 will be out in a few days, and volume 3 will be out soon, okay? And that right there supplies my need. And when the church stopped taking care of me, which they really not taking care of me to the place where I depend on them. I don't depend on the church. But because I work for them, and labor is worthy of hire. And number 2, I don't have a problem with staffing at churches because they do this for a living. Pastors working for churches and they get paid, I have no problem with that. They're doing this because the scripture says you take care of them. Those who are preaching the gospel and giving you teaching you this gift of life and teaching you how can they hear without a preacher. And God said, I'll take care of them. And so these pastors are being taken care of by the church. I'm for it. Those of you who work in the ministry, I can take care of you too. If you say, brother, I need this because I do this full time, you best believe I'm going in my wallet and I'm going to pay you for whatever I need in ministry. If that's what you do full time, I'm paying you for it because I value what you do. I'm in my 50s. It took me many, many years of studying that piano back there. Blood, sweat, and tears, all right? Going through so much to try to learn how to pick this thing and learn thousands of songs, and I became a songwriter after that, and I began to sell my music and train these choirs, what have you. So I have seniority. So now when I go places and they ask me to play or do any type of performance or ministry, they pull out their checkbook. Why? That's full-time ministry. I haven't had a 9-to-5 since 1997. I've walked off of corporate America, a good paying job, to go into ministry full-time. I said, God, you said you're going to take care of me. Yeah, I will pay you for your word. Yes, all right. And so I said, so you're going to take care of me, God? He says, yes, I am. And so I walked off the job, and I never went back, never punched a clock since 97. Never, and never will, ever. All right? And I will always make money doing this. I will always make money doing this. I will always make money being a life coach. I will always make money. I'm shooting classes right now on how to study the Bible. I'm shooting classes. There is a paid class for the Men's Chronicles. There is a paid class that I'm teaching. All right, online for that. All right, so the Lord has taken care of me, so I don't have to punch a clock. All right, so I don't need the church and the church building and a piano and the organ for me to survive. No, the Lord is given. So you look at those people who were giving the tithe, not the tithe, but the talents. Those who were giving the talents. There's three men that were given the talents. The two were very frugal. They were very savvy with what to do with the master's talents. Okay. They didn't bury it like the third person, but what they did was they took the money and they invested it. Now, how did they invest it? Well, who gave this analogy? Who gave this parable of the talents? Anybody know? All right, so the person who gave this parable of the talents, notice what the answer was, okay? Now, he gave you a legal or a natural story, all right, so that at the end result is spiritual, pretty much. But he talked literal so that you can understand it, so the people of that time understood talent. I wouldn't give the example of a talent today, but I would say money. I would use the stock market. I might use that analogy because people today understood that, understand how the market operates. I would talk about the New York Stock Exchange. All right, I'll use words like rally, and I'll use words like the bull market or the bear market and all these things. I'll use those terminologies because today that's what they understand. But if someone gave me money and told me to do something with it, then I know to take $1,000 and then properly invest it. Would I give that money to the church? I would not give that money to the church. Hear me. I need you to hear me really plain and clear if you never heard me before. If somebody gave me $1,000 and told me to invest it, that money will not hit the church. It will not. No. Notice what those men did with the talents. They didn't give it to the church. They didn't give it to the temple. They didn't give it to the synagogue. They did not do that. They didn't. Now, are there many ways to invest? Yes. It's called diversity. Diversification. It's called putting together what's called a portfolio. Now, what can I do to build up this portfolio? Well, I can put my money in businesses that I trust. All right, businesses that's what they did. They put money in the businesses that they understood and knew the history behind it and that they trusted. Services that I already use, all right, that has been tested and proven to be sound. For instance, I'm using an iPhone to do this show. You think that I don't trust Apple? Do you think I don't trust Apple? And I got several iPhones. I got the iPhone 4, the iPhone 5, I have the iPhone 6, and I have the iPhone 7. I have an iPad, and I have an iMac here, and I have I have a MacBook Pro. You think I don't like Apple products? You think I don't have any stock in Apple? And I got Apple all over the house? I even got apples in my refrigerator. You understand what I'm saying? So how silly would it be for me to tell you not to invest in a product that I have all over the house, and that I'll probably have until it just decided it won't work no more, and I'll go and get another Apple product. You understand what I'm saying? And so, if I was to take money and invest in anything, I'll invest in something that I trust and know and understand that is work. And the stock markets crash, and sometimes, and then it rises again. But yet, people still put their monies in it. Why? Because it's been tried and tested and trusted that if it fall, it's going to rise again. Jesus died, and the disciples ran away from him. Oh man, here I go preaching. Jesus was right there with the disciples. He said, drop your nets and follow me, okay? And they followed him all throughout his missionary journey to his raising the dead and healing the sick, and even healed, what's his name, mother-in-law, okay? They saw his work. They saw his miracles. They heard his words. They called him beloved and rabbi and all that. And one laid on his chest and said that was his favorite and all this stuff. All right. And then when it come time for him, he asked them, "Who do men say I am?" And they was like, "These men are saying there's great things about you." One guy said, "You Jeremiah." The other one said, "You Isaiah or Isaiah." And then one says, you, the one that he had the most problem with, said, "You, Jesus Christ, the Son of the living God." And Jesus said, that's good stuff, Pete. Pete, you all right. You know what? Flesh and blood did not reveal this to you. And then the weather changed. How did the weather change? Then Jesus said, "All right, y'all, I got to go and die." And then they rebuked him. How you going to do? No, you're not going to go and die. And then Jesus had to rebuke him, says, "Hey, get behind me, devil." You following the devil. How could you tell me what I ain't going to do? You don't understand this. So then he goes to the cross to be crucified, and the disciples, they're gone. Shoot. All right, they out of here. And even though he told them that he was going to rise from the dead, he told them the story. The Bible says they forgot, or it's like he never told them. They didn't remember it. Why do you think they were shocked? Why do you think there was denial? Why do you think Brother Thomas says, "Until I see him, I ain't going to believe it"? Why? Because they, disciples, are just like us. So they ran and forgot what he did for them. That's you. So if someone was to give me money to invest, I can't invest it to the church. Why? Because the church is only investing in themselves. They're investing in themselves, which means they're investing into the building. They're not investing into people. Now, I know many churches that are doing it. Thank God they have food kitchens, okay? And they are paying people's mortgages and rents and carnals, okay? Those churches, I thank God for them. But a lot of times they turn the cameras on and let you see that so that you can feel that they're doing, it's a red herring. Yeah, and they do that so that you can praise them, and then they turn the cameras off and then go back to not helping the people in the ministry. It just do that every now and then to make you feel, okay, to prove a point. It's sad. But why would I get this lump sum of money and give it to the church for the church to give it to the bank? Why would I do that? I'm not doing it. Nope, not doing it. I'm going to invest that money into building souls, building character, and building people, taking these kids off the street. Yes, I am. But here's who I'm going to pay first. Are y'all with me? I'm about to shock you. Who am I going to pay first? Me. I'm paying me first. Yes, I am. Y'all said, yeah, God first and then the church and then, well, church, God, whatever, then your family. No, 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 no. When I take care of my home, I'm taking care of God. Yes, I am. I'm an ordained elder talking like this. Ain't that something? God is a family God. And you are unstable as water when you don't take care of home. And all through the scriptures, he even told y'all, it is, he says, even he's talked about you who desires the office of a bishop, those of you who are chasing after these positions. He even said here that you unstable, you ain't worth nothing if you not even honored at home, but yet you're going to go to church and lord over people and want to be all pompous in church, and the people at home hate your guts. I don't. But yeah, y'all keep telling me church first. As if church is God. No. God's temple is right here in my house. Right tonight. God is in my house tonight. I bring God with me to the temple on Sundays. Yeah, I bring him with me. Y'all, you understand what I'm saying? Okay? So he says, here you, matter of fact, I may have to go there because I don't think they understanding this portion here. Why y'all don't read that portion? I gotta read it because I don't think y'all getting it. It's an embarrassment what he said. Where is it, y'all? Is it chapter 3? Yeah, this is a true saying. If a man desires the office of a bishop, he desires a good work. He says, one that ruleth well his own house, having his children in subjection with all gravity. That means his children must respect him at home. How does the pastor leave his home with kids who don't even respect him? And then he comes to the church and tell you, your kids, what to do, and his kids don't even like him. You know how many pastor friends that I have who their kids don't like them, who don't respect them, call them by their first name? And then at church, he's trying to tell my children what to do. Sit up, sit down, do this, do that. I'm the pastor. I'm the angel of this house. You, and then your kid like, forget you. I've heard a PK kid cuss his own father out. Said, F you. His father is the pastor. Says here, for if a man know not how to rule his own house, how shall he take care of the church of God? That's in 1 Timothy chapter 3, y'all. And you telling me the church is first? No, that ain't happening. You will not see my money flowing in the church more so you flowing in my own house. I'm going to pay my utilities. I'm going to pay my mortgage. I'm going to even pay the man to cut the grass. If I don't cut it, I'm going to pay the man to cut the grass first before I put one dime in the church. Yes, I will. Why? Because that building is not the church. Ecclesia, I am a member of the church. Here's a member, 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 here's a member. I got members down there in my, okay? I got members. So the wonderful analogy of members make up one body. So I'm a member of the body of Christ. And wherever I go, that's where Christ is. And so I live here. And I'm taking care of my home and my family here at the house. So if somebody gave me $1 million, it ain't going to the church, it's going to my house first to take care of the needs of my home, and then I'm going to go out in the street. Because then he says, he that gives to the poor, lend to God. It's amazing how these scriptures get buried. But yet we're sowing seeds in our churches and expect a hocus pocus act to happen. When the monies that we're giving to the church is going to the banks, unless it's going to the benevolent offering, which is taken up in the first part of the service, a missions office or benevolent offering. And notice, the missions offering and the benevolent office is this big, and the general offering is this big. Why? Because out of the general offering, salary is about this big. And the mortgage is this big. Utilities are in here somewhere. But the mortgage is this big. bank want their money not every month. They want it every week. The average church, you got to raise a certain amount every week. You understand what I'm saying? Or you messed up. Or they can come and take the house of God from you. They sure can. Now what you going to do? I got to find another church. So this is an indictment. I will never apologize for this message. Ever. Now, for those of you who collect these offerings and take you forever to do it, let me help you out. Paul told them to collect the offering and have it ready by the time I get there. Have it ready. Don't spend a whole lot of time collecting it when I get there. Have it ready. All right? And then you do what you do. Why do you think that they set up these men who are full of the Holy Ghost to tend to the tables so that the apostles can tend to the work of the Lord? All right? So we're spending too much time on this table stuff, offerings and what have you. We're spending too much time. When the people, they need the help, the spiritual help. And we're spending all this time dealing with table work. So they selected these men. Let them take care of the table and let's have church. You ever seen people raising money at a political rally? Anybody? You ever watch CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, ABC, NBC, CBS? You ever seen any political rally? You ever seen them passing out offering plates? You ever seen them spending some time over the pulpit or the podium to collect an offering? Have you ever seen that? Do you see that today? No, you don't see that. Why? Because they did it before they got you there to the convention center. It was done in your email. It was done over the phone. They had already given the money. So by the time the convention started, the DNC and the Republican convention and all that stuff, ain't no money collected. They did all that. They did that in the back office. But your church, no. You got to make it a part of the worship service. Yeah, you do. You know why you got to do it? Because these people are not conditioned to give without somebody telling them to do it. They're not conditioned that way. But when I walk into a lot of these Caucasian churches, because I worked for them, there was no offering time. They just had service. And then the white folks knew when they went to the church, there was a bucket right there. They just put it in there, and they just did their worship. And when they left, some just put the money in there when they left. And when I first saw that, I said, I had money in my pocket. I was waiting on the offering time, but they didn't collect. I said, y'all, hey, psst, psst, usher, they forgot to collect the offering. They forgot. I know they had a lot going on today, but it's not on the program. She said, huh? No, baby, the bucket is back there. Okay, well, so we're going to march around? No, we don't do that here. I was shocked. I was living in South Dakota then. They said, oh, no, we don't do that here. She said, one girl said, did you give online? I said, huh? Yeah, we gave ours online. But your church spent a half hour on offering, taking that from God, taking that moment from God. Somebody about to get their breakthrough, and it's offering time. It's just amazing. And then you preach. You know, there's an average of 2 sermons that go on Sunday mornings. There's an average of 2 sermons. One is from the pastor or the speaker, and the second one, which comes first, is from the person who's over the offering that Sunday. He preaches a full sermon. And you know what his sermon is going to be every week. I think it's sad. In many cases, I think it's despicable what y'all doing. What y'all doing to these people who can hardly make it this week. There are people who have to pack lunches, bologna sandwiches. They don't know how they're going to make it this week. No, they do not flounce and parade around the offering table. No. One of my favorite scriptures, in as much as you done to the least, yes, my brother, yeah, come on, Stephen. I feel really bad for the ones who have been manipulated to the point where they think that they have to do this at church on Sunday. And then they're waiting on a financial blessing to happen all week because what they did on Sunday, and they do nothing like those who were given the talents. They do no kind of investments. They don't go out and feed the poor. Again, there are a lot of people who do that. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to your brothers and sisters who are not doing this. You don't tend to the poor. You just don't do it. And you spend a lot of money on your food all week for you to eat on your job. That was me. I was buying Popeyes and McDonald's and Burger King, and then treating some of my coworkers when I was working in corporate America. It was ridiculous how much money I was spending every day. I was spending $20, $25, $30 a day. You hear me? A day to eat lunch at my job. Now I want y'all to add this up. Was $20 a day times 5. That's how much I was spending every week, every day that is, for lunch. Now here's the thing. My last job, when the food truck come, it was the breakfast truck come because I went to work at 6 a.m. At 6 a.m., when you get your first break, I worked the first shift. When that truck come, it's bringing breakfast. It comes around 8 o'clock, 8:30, 9 o'clock. That lunch cost me about $10. Because I got the sandwich and the breakfast sandwich and the drink, and cause when you buy from the truck, you're gonna spend some money. And then sometimes we treat one of the co-workers, right? So that's $10. Sometimes I'll spend $15 and then do the same thing for lunch. That's $20, $25, $30, and I did that every day. That's what y'all doing in church. That's what y'all do in church. And my crazy self was married. Go figure. All right? It's ridiculous. My son's church in Colorado does not take a corporate offering, and that church is flourishing. I don't understand. This is a cultural thing. You think you have to do it. And these preachers on my wall was trying to explain why you gotta take up the offering and spend that long time. Because they won't give. So somebody said, you won't get paid. Really? When I was working for the white church, they paid me. And we didn't have to spend 1 minute on the offering. And I got money in the bank. I got paid every week. There's one black church here in Chicago, in Posen, Illinois. Maybe I shouldn't say the name, but I'm almost saying it. That's called Abounding Life. Abounding Life. I was on salary at this church to be the vocal trainer for the choir, and I also I also was one of the musicians. Their offering time probably takes about 5 minutes, if that long, their offering time. Now, you know when I get my money? When I was getting my money, this was some years ago, my money came to me 2 days before service. That was a Friday morning. I couldn't wait for Friday. I didn't even get to church yet. And I was with Chase Bank at the time, and I get a notification at 7 a.m. every Friday morning. Ka-ching! I would hear it, it would wake me up. I go to speaking in tongues. Okay? Ka-ching! It'll wake me up 7 a.m. every Friday, and I open up my phone. It says, you have so-and-so deposit in your account from Abounding Life. This is a Friday. I didn't even get to church yet. You understand what I'm saying? And that money was for when I got to church 2 days later. You understand? Then when we get to church, the offering was just 5, 3, 2 minutes, and they were done. And the church didn't complain about money. They didn't. Why? Because the people were conditioned to give, and many of them just gave online, which supplied all my needs. Okay? So when I got to church Sunday, I just did my thing, you know, because they had already paid me 2 days prior. And that's how white folk work. White folk do that. Because every time a white person called me for a gig, they say, the gig is Saturday. You want us to pay you right now? 90%. When a white person called me to do a gig, they say, do you want your money right now? But the gig is next week. Yeah, that's fine. You want your money right now? Sometimes I say, yeah. And then sometimes I say, no, I want to be excited. I want to be excited. I'll wait. Mm-hmm. But when the brothers call, not only are they going to try to get you to go down on your fee, way down on your fee, then they may tell you to wait. They might write the check, tell you, hold it. Can you hold that? Can you hold it? Wait, you want me to hold it? Wait, you asked me a month ago to do this gig, and you want me to hold this? Yes. Wait a minute. You should have had this money to raise already before you even picked up the phone and call Sirwalterj. If you're going to call Sirwalterj, your money need to be ready now, even though the event is 30 days from now. I don't operate like that. No. We don't talk my fee down. We don't do that. Why? I got seniority. I'm a businessman. And all these people who you trust their work and you pay their fee, when it comes to guys like y'all, I can't understand. You don't even go to Walmart and finagle. Whatever the price is, even though they lower the prices so-called at Walmart, you never go to the cash registers and say, hey, can I get 15% off? No, you don't. You don't do that at Walmart, Walgreens, Piggly Wiggly. No, you don't. What's another southern store? Kroger's. No, you don't. You pay the fee, don't you? Yes, you do. When you call a carpenter, you pay the fee. When you call the plumber, you pay the fee. Yeah, you do. Yes, you do. You get a ticket on your car, you pay the fee. Come on, y'all, stop playing. Yeah, you do. When people do work for you professionally, yeah, you pay the fee. You call Empire Carpet, you pay the fee, don't you? Yeah, you do. But who you not going to pay the fee to? Us who are independent contractors, us who are entrepreneurs, us who are workers, in ministry especially. I don't know about Jones. I don't know if I can pay that. Can you give me a cut on that? You can. Really? If I had a different skin complexion, you wouldn't do it, would you? No, you wouldn't. You can't even barter at a flea market anymore. You sure can't. I tried it the other day. I tried it. What they call them over here? I forget what they call these markets here. Yeah, can't do it. They say that's the fee. That's it. We pay the fee, Marvel. Pay the fee. So when I say I'm trying to help a young lady right now, she just released a CD, and I'm trying to help her negotiate her monies. I said, so how do you negotiate, L. Jones? There is no negotiation. She said, huh? How? I said, no, there is no negotiation. What are you talking about, L. Jones? I said, baby. Before you had your CD out, you negotiate. It's too high? Yes. Okay, I'll do it for $30. Fine. I said, you got a CD out now, right? Yes. It's on iTunes? She said, yes. I said, all right. There's no more negotiation. Your fee is $300 flat. That might be too high. Really? If it's too high, then they can't afford it. Move on to the next person. Ooh, Brother Jones, that seemed, I don't know. I said, then you need to get out of the game right now. Get out of the game right now. Run, Forrest, run. Because you can't handle this game. No. Your fee is $300. Why? You know why it's $300? Because they're going to pay me to do the same job more. You understand? See, they want you. Your fee is $300. Yes. You say it's $300 or nothing. Well, then forget it. We don't want you. And then they're going to be desperate and they're going to pay somebody more. Because at the last minute, you see, they call me the ram in the bush. Because, you see, this guy, I can't even do this. I don't even know why I'm doing this. So I tell him, listen, before I was an author, my speaking fee is this. You know, I'll finagle here and there. I'm an author now, and here's my fee. Oh, really? Yes. I'm an author now. I'm in a different bracket. Here's my fee. We can't afford it. You can't afford me. They'll get me on that date. The date you want, yeah, they'll get me. Yeah. I understand how our hearts are, because we don't want to now ask for a flat fee to the same people who we used to do this stuff for free. I get it. Then you will never make it in the industry. Andre Crouch, Church of God in Christ man, the great Andre Crouch, who wrote many of the standards. His father was a bishop of our church, Bishop Crouch, and his mother. Okay, all right. When Andre Crouch was just Andre, the church utilized his gifts in the national conventions. They just utilized him. It was great. And then he signed a deal with Light Records. Was it Light Records? Maybe he signed a deal. He's now a recording artist, and then the Church of God in Christ asked him to come and sing a song in a convention, and he said, that's going to cost you. Here's the bill. They said, what? But you belong to us. Yes. I also belong to Light Records. You got to pay the bill. Why? Because I'm a recording artist. I do this full time now. Pay the bill. We can't do it. Then I can't sing. It seems unfair, don't it? You will go broke and homeless depending on church folks. Yes, Robinson, and that's the thing. It's your friends and family are the ones who are always trying to cut deals. Them the ones, and the church folk the ones trying to cut deals. But when these folk in the world want me, and I tell them what my fee is, they say, "Oh, okay, that's it, no problem." Why? Because they're conditioned. They are used to quality. They understand that it costs money. So that's why y'all act the way y'all do in church. That's why they raise offerings the way they do in church, because they know you have a poor person's mentality in church. And how do you get poor people to do what you need them to do? You talk poor talk. You talk faith talk. You talk about returns. How do you get poor people to do what you need them to do? You make them do something that doesn't make logical sense. This is hurting y'all, I know. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. To get poor people to do something for you, you teach them to do something that makes no logical sense. What do I mean by that? If price is only an issue in the absence of value. Ooh, Robinson, man, you cutting. Here's what you do. You tell them to pay some money to something that they'll never see, but you make a promise to them that they will see it multiply. You might as well tell them to dig a hole in the ground and put it in there, and I'm going to promise you that it's going to grow. Well, if I put a piece of paper in the ground, it will never grow. Only seeds grow, but it'll only grow if it is properly watered. Putting a seed in the ground don't guarantee its growth. It must be nourished and watered. It is a living organism, and organisms need moisture. You understand? So when you put money in an offering pan, what nourishes it? What gives it its its moisture. Yeah, it sounds like the lottery, Beatrice. What gives it its nurturing and its moisture? What feeds that dollar? The mouth. That's what feeds it. A promise. How do we know? I went long tonight. I don't know why I did that. This dollar have no backing whatsoever. Back in the old days, this is a gold piece. All right? I'll say this and close because I haven't even had dinner, y'all. These are gold pieces. Back in the old day, this dollar was backed by gold. That's why they call it a gold standard. It was backed by gold. Back in the days of my grandfather, you could go to the bank and exchange this for this. The United States have the most of the gold reserves from around the world. It was backed by something tangible. That's something that was digged from the earth. It is divisible, it's spongible, and all these words, and it won't die. It burns up, and the burning of it might make it even more precious. Okay, so it had to be backed by something which gave it its value. You understand? 1971 came. There was a problem with this because, again, we had all of the reserve around the world. All right, down there in what's that prison? Fort Knox, I think it was. All right. Richard Nixon decided to remove the gold standard from the dollar. All right? If you remove a natural resource from paper, then what is backing the paper? Y'all know what's backing the paper? Somebody put it down there in the comment section. For those of you who had an economic class. Somebody. What's backing the dollar today? Somebody please put it in the comments right now. I'll wait. What's backing the dollar? Beatrice said nothing. Anybody else? What's backing the dollar? I'm trying to make this analogy for y'all. These pastors are so upset what I'm doing tonight. They're so upset. But there's a way to do this. There's really a way to do this, y'all. What's backing the dollar? Come on, y'all. It's a few y'all on here. Y'all need to tell me. You on YouTube, can you tell me what's backing the dollar? I got one answer here, and I know this thing moves slow. Robinson said zilch. The answer is actually on the dollar. Now, Beatrice and Robinson is actually right. Thank you, Marvel. Marvel got it. A promise. And what is this called? The word promise is in there. Somebody put it in the comments. What is this dollar called, which tells you that it's backed? Beatrice said YouTube. Yeah, come on, YouTube. What is it called? It's on there. I don't have my glasses. But it's on here. There are two different kinds of notes. Oh, Robinson? Yeah. All right. The notes are coming. The notes. The comments are coming in slow. This is called a promissory note. Yeah, there it is, Beatrice. Promissory note. Who promised it? The government. Legal tender. Yeah, Stephen. Yeah. Yep. It's a legal tender backed by promise. It is a note. So it's not backed by gold anymore. It's backed by a promise. How good is the promise? The faith in the government. There it is. Amber. Faith in the government. Can you trust the government? Because the government is spending out all this money, and that's how we get the recessions that we have and the inflations or what have you, because when the government is out of money, it prints more, which does what to this dollar? Does printing more money out of nowhere give this dollar more value? Anybody? 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 Okay? So at church, that's what's happening. Poor people give their monies and put it in the pan based off of a promise from someone, and who's promising it is interpreting the scriptures improperly. So they're doing name dropping. All of us name drop. Oh, I know so-and-so. I know him. I know him. You're doing that for you so that it lifts you up. It makes you look great in the eyes of these people. Oh, I know him. I rode on the bus with him. I rode in a limousine with him one day. I was on an airplane with him one day. You drop names, right? So the preacher drops names. Guess whose name he drops? And then he tells you that he promised that if you drop this in the bucket, but it's really based off of the promise of this preacher who misunderstood the promise of the Savior. Oh man, this is messed up. I'll never go to church again. No, you can't put trust in the government. They will shut down on you at will. Those of you who work for the government, you know what happened to you last year. Remember? Remember when y'all was losing your homes and your cars? You remember that? And y'all had to go to the soup kitchen and you were government workers? Some of y'all was making 6 figures. You went from making 6 figures to nothing. They was promising you one day we're going to give you all your money back. And it was too late for many of you. You had already lost everything. The government. So this dollar is backed by the government. And they could put a value on this at will. Yes. The Federal Reserve could put the value on this. They can raise it or lower it. All right? And now look, now watch this. This hurts. Ow! I felt that in my bones. Now, this ain't worth nothing. It ain't backed by nothing, not even a promise. You bring this anywhere, you ain't getting nothing. Here too, you ain't getting nothing. Well, let me see. But I'm going to show you something that is extremely important to know how valuable that dollar is. Y'all see this? This is worth more than the dollar itself. Scotch tape. It's a great invention. I can't even sell Scotch tape. If I was to sell the Scotch tape to any of y'all wouldn't give me not one penny for it. But it's about to be worth some money. It's about to be worth something. Y'all already know what I'm doing right here, right? This ain't worth nothing right now. But I'm getting ready to fix it. I'm getting ready to fix it. I'm doing surgery down here, y'all. It's gonna be sloppy, but I'm gonna do it anyway. All right. Ta-da! That dollar is now worth $1. Wait a minute, but when it was separated, it wasn't worth nothing. Don't you burn that money like that. Yeah, you better pay the grand prize game. Look at that. Scotch tape made this valuable again. Paper. This is the magic dollar. You know what that says about this dollar? It's worth nothing. It's backed by an imagination. Somebody said it's worth it. Now it's worth it. But this right here, God himself put value on it. Natural resource. Sometimes the market fluctuates and the cost of gold, the price of gold is this and that and this and that, right? But it's going to always be worth something. And the day is going to come when billionaires with this going to be burning this just for firewood because it ain't going to be worth nothing. And they're going to be chasing after this. This will never die, y'all. Why? Because in heaven, the streets, hallelujah, today, ain't going to be paved with this. And that's what y'all do in the church. It's a Ponzi scheme. And what is a Ponzi scheme? Is to receive from an investor and promise that investor a great rate on your return. How do I pay the rate? I got to go and find another investor. He gives me something, and I got to promise this investor a great rate on his return. How do I give him his great rate? I got to go find another investor. And then that investor gives me money, and I promise him a great rate on his return. But I got to pay this first guy. So where do I get that money from? I get that money from the second guy. And he pays me money, and then I pay this guy a great rate on his return. I got to now pay this guy. So I take the third guy and pay him, the second guy, a great rate on his return. How do I pay the third guy, though? Well, I got to take the money that this guy still invested in me to pay the third guy. This goes on and on. Now I got to add more. It's an ML, y'all part of these multi-level marketing, direct marketing schemes and what have you, Amway and did I say that? All this stuff, okay? All right. I gotta find another investor. Before you know it, the wall is gonna fall in on me because I cannot back all this. After a while, I can't find new investors and I can't continue to circle. And before you know it, I can't give him his money. And they all gonna be wise to my Ponzi. Bernie Madoff, that's how he got put in jail, by doing this. And the church and the government has turned into one major Ponzi scheme. Let me promise you something in return. Okay? And then like the lottery or like the casino, you keep playing the lottery long enough, you're gonna win. You keep going to the casino long enough and do this, you're gonna win. You ain't gonna win what you put in, but you're gonna win something. Then it works on your mind, your psyche. This thing actually works, you see. You keep giving money to the church based off of a promise. You keep giving, and then one day, mysteriously, a check come in the mail. They got you. And then you go around the country talking about how I gave my son certain percentage because one day I got something in the mail. You gave $5,000 over a short period of time, and you got a $500 check in the mail unexpectedly, and you can't even go back and tally up what you gave, because it wasn't so much how much you gave, it was the fact that you gave and you finally got a return. That's the Ponzi scheme. And you are a victim of it, and your father was victim of it, your mother was victim of it, your grandparents were victim of it too. I ain't gonna be a victim of it. And this right here won't be shared by you. This show right here won't be shared. And I'm not scared. I'm never scared. I wasn't scared when I turned on the record button to teach this lesson. It's 1 o'clock right now on a Friday night. All right, I wasn't really expecting this many people here tonight, but I wasn't scared. I'm not gonna be scared. I'm gonna share it. I might even pay Facebook ads for it. I want people to see it and be pissed off at me. Why? I want them to be pissed off at me because I don't really care about your pisticity on me, but I do care about my daughter and my son and my brother and my sister, my mothers and my fathers out there who are suffering, trying to take care of a building that God never told you need to be taking care of. You take care of your house. Stop being a deadbeat in your home. You talking about these deadbeat fathers? Some of you mothers are deadbeat because you're giving all your monies to the church. So some of you mothers are deadbeats. You talking about this deadbeat man that walked out of your life, and then you taking even the child support money and the alimony money and giving it to the church. You deadbeat. I don't want to hear none of it. So I got the church on trial tonight. And I will never, ever get invited to teach and preach at nobody's church. And that's a good life to live. Because I do street ministry. Tonight I did some street ministry. We just had a concert in Evanston where we're trying to help children stay off the street. Raise money. Get kids off the street. Right? Pastor Zolly Webb was an amazing man of God who, he said, you know what? I can do something to help these kids. That's why I was there tonight. I love to see the babies find something to do all summer. It's only so long y'all keep putting these kids in some camp that lasts for about a week, and then before you know it, they latchkey kids, because the camp is over like that, and then you got them at home, and they don't know what to do, and they don't know what to do. Pressed down, shaken, and overflowing has been used in Ponzi scriptures. Yep, it's misinterpretation of the scripture. Yeah. Talk about the value of diamonds. Man, I can't. Stephen Perry, man, I can't. All right? So this year, I'm dedicating my life and my money to making sure that these kids stay off the streets. Yes. When kids ask me for money, of course I ask them, what is it for? When they tell me it's something for school or for books or something like that, even missions trips when they're going across seas, then yes, I'm digging in my pocket. I got you. Oh, I got you. You got a little game going on, where you trying to make some money. You selling something. Some kids selling shirts and caps and anything. I know a kid who sells his pictures. He just draw. This picture right here. This picture right here was given to me through a mutual friend of ours on here, but it was a painting by a young lady. She just graduated from high school. Is it high school, I believe? Y'all know who that is, right? All right. This was just a gift to me. She took a picture from Facebook and she just drew that. It's beautiful. And then I had Demetra Pitts to go into Photoshop, and then she, this is not the Photoshop, this is the actual painting, a drawing that is, and then she went into Photoshop and she did something, and I'll be sharing that, and that's going to be part of my logo. A child did that. Okay? And I was able to get the name of the child. All right? That's stuff I'd pay for right there. Oh, yeah. And I want to find, I know where the child is now. We have a mutual friend who knows where the child is. And when that child decides what college they're going to go to, guess what I'm going to be doing? Oh, yes, I am. Yes, I am. I'm going to find out how much. I can't pay for the tuition, but you best believe I could pay for some books. I could pay for some food. I might could pay a little bit on the housing, but I'm going to put some money in that kid's future. Yes, I am. That's what I want to do. Giving my money to the church. It benefits when the missions offering is raised and the benevolent offering is raised, and then it's that portion. So I give to that. I would give some money to the church to pay some salaries and things like that. I will do that. And I will give some money to pay a light or gas bill or something like that. I will do that for the church. Yeah, I will. If I'm going to be a member, I'm going to do that. But when y'all start manipulating the people and tell them to give a sacrificial offering and tell them that God is getting ready to do this, now you're talking about a Ponzi scheme. You're going to reap the benefits of what you do at home by investing in yourself, investing into poor people, even investing in the market if you know how to be as savvy and smart, investing into the stock market, but know what you're doing. All right, go to Google and you can get the instruction there. But just putting your money in the church and them telling you you're going to be blessed by just putting your money in church and not knowing where the money's going, you're crazy. Because they go in their back office and do all kind of stuff with that money. You don't even know where it goes. And I heard you tithe pay. It says, I don't care where the money goes. Look, the God just told me to pay it now. And then before you know it, the church is falling. Foreclosures and something happened and all this stuff. And misappropriation of funds. And IRS is coming for this and all kinds of stuff, but you don't care where your money's going. But yet in the world, you care where your money's going until you get to the church. You're a horrible steward of your money. And that's the third person that the talents was given to buried it. That's what you do. You just give your money to the church. I don't care. I trust the church. You're the third person who buried their money. And God said, Jesus said, you ain't going to make it in heaven. And you're just going to be gnashing of teeth for you. Get an investment in security license. Come on, Robinson. I know. Come on, man. Come on. And I thought about getting that. What is that license called? What is that license called? What's that thing called? Series is a series 13. What is that series number? 6, something like that. I had thought about it, man. I thought hard. And I said, but no, I'm doing other stuff. I'm doing other stuff. So I'll just instruct people to do whatever. You do your own research, and then you get you somebody who has a series 663 or whatever it is, okay, and let them teach you and be bona fide. Let me ask, if we don't give willingly to the church, which other way can the church get funding? All right, Marville, that's a good question. Okay. All right. Let me close with this because I must be coded because I have too many closings. Marvel, what I don't want the people to hear in this sermon, because that's what they're going to hear, is that don't give money to this church. All right. So that's not it. Because notice my last portion, I says, I do give to the church. All right. Yes. Series 6, 63, 26, and 52. Thank you, Robinson. Yes. Let me answer Marvel. The people who, there are thousands of churches, first of all. You don't really have to give to a church, first of all, for you to help people. You can give straight to non-for-profits. There's the food depository here in Chicago that you can give food to them, and as they give to the poor, as they feed poor, you can go to homeless shelters, what have you. You can get directly to the home. You don't have to give to a church for them to pass out missions, because that's the middleman. Why don't you just go right to the poor people? All right, let them do it, where the poor people go to that place. For instance, poor people don't go to the church mostly go to the church to receive monies from the church, unless that church have a food a feeding program. All right. Other than that, the church don't just pass out money to poor people. It just don't. A lot of times that money goes to the benevolent offering, and it stays in the offering, it stays in the bank, what have you. Okay, and then if something should come up, then they will give that money to someone in need. Somebody come to their church and they have a need, and they may give it. Other than that, a lot of the money just stays within the bank, okay, and then it just gather up, unless you are a missions church like my church, who sends missionaries out around the country and around the world. Other than that, many churches just keep that money. So it's not doing you no good to just give that money to that church. So you go to these other non-for-profits where the poor people go to the non-for-profit for food and for monies or what have you that they need to feed their families. Again, the kitchens and the homeless shelters and what have you, they go. You can give to the army. What do you call it? The army, the Salvation Army. Okay, poor people go there for stuff. All right, that's number one. Number two, if you're going to give to a ministry, you usually give to a ministry because you belong to that ministry. All right, you belong to that ministry. People who are Christian don't just give to ministry just because they want to pay people the church's light bills. No, if they give to a ministry, it's because they have some kind of affiliation with that ministry. All right, they might be members of that ministry. So if you're a member of that ministry, then the people inside of that church should give willingly to the ministry so that the lights and gas and bills are paid, since you want to be a part, since you want to be a member of that church. You understand? If you're going to be in the church and you're getting all of this stuff, like the music and the air conditioning, and you go use the toilet, and all that stuff, you might as well pay for it, because you go to the library, you're really paying for that. All right, your taxes pay for that. You get your garbage picked up, your taxes pay for that. The police come to your house if somebody break in, your taxes go to that. If your house is being ready, if it's catching on fire, the fire department comes, your taxes pay for that. You understand? So if you're going to pay money to anything outside of the church, you might as well pay money to be inside of a church if you decide to be a member. No one forced you to be a member there. You decided to be a member, so the membership should be able to take care of the church. The church should not rely on outside to take care of what you established. You did that on your own. You decided to build that church. So you should take care of it. You should. You really should. Now, if you have departments in that church where they're having fundraisers, well then yeah, you can solicit those departments from outside. That's fine. But don't be relying on others to take care of the building that you built on your own. Y'all understand what I'm saying on that? All right. So, but because you are a non-for-profit now, you don't need a 501c3 to be a non-for-profit. If you are a church, you are already a non-for-profit. Already. The government has recognized you as a church. So that whole tax thing apply to you as a church. It's stated in the laws of the land. And there is a pecking. There's a list that you can go through to bona fide you as a church. You can't just say I'm a church and then the government accept you. No, there's a list that you got to go through to. I think one of the I can't do that. All right. So I don't know if that answered your question or not. But his question was, if we don't give willingly to the church, which other way can the church get funding? All right. So anybody can give to the church. And they can file that on their taxes. Anybody can give to the church. It's already non-for-profit. Y'all thought you needed a 501c3, but you don't. You've been misled. Not you, Mark, but people have been misled. He said, I get it. All right, good. Deasha said good night. That means it's late. It's 2:16 over there. Okay? All right? So I'm just trying to dispel the rumor or the teaching, this false teaching that, well, what happens if, the people don't do blah, 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 because the church really didn't need tithing. Tithing got instituted in the 1800s. Late 1800s. They began to bring up tithing, and many of the fathers of the gospel was against tithing. Spurgeon was against tithing. He was dead set against it. Said he didn't need it. We didn't need it. But somebody told you that you did need it. Charles Spurgeon was against it. He even wrote a letter. John Wycliffe was against it. John Smith was against it. The Quakers was against it. John Gill was against it. Adam Clark was against it. All right, these preachers were, and they are admired by the world by being the greatest preachers, and they were against tithing. D.L. Moody, okay, they were against it. Martin Luther, John Calvin, they were against tithing. They didn't need it because they understood the proper interpretation of it. If they knew it was food. But they understood offerings. That's important because we need to be able to take care of the upkeep of the temple, the tabernacle, or church, whatever they wanted to call it then. Somebody reinstituted it. Mostly the Catholic Church did that so that they can build their cathedrals. Matter of fact, Spurgeon in April 1880, his sermon says, "But you are not under a system similar to that by which the Jews were obliged to pay tithes to the priests." He says, if there were any such rule laid down in the gospel, it would destroy the beauty of spontaneous giving and take away all the blossom or the bloom from the fruit of your liberality. There is no law to tell me what I should give my father on his birthday. And there is no rule laid down in any law book to decide what present a husband should give to his wife, nor what token of affection we should bestow upon others whom we love. He said, no, the gift must be a free one, or it has lost all its sweetness. That was Charles H. Spurgeon. I agree totally with him. So we've been drinking the Kool-Aid. Now, this is the most damnable sermon I've ever given. It is hated. It will be always hated in the annals, on the halls of time. okay, by many pastors. I suggest y'all don't share this with them because they're going to say you are accessory to the crime. All right? Y'all say, you still going to eat dinner? Yes. I can afford to. I'm skinty. I can afford to eat dinner at 1 in the morning. Dinner don't taste good until it's after midnight. Why? Because I've been a musician, songwriter in the entertainment world all my life. Thank my dad for that. And we always ate late, 2, 3, 4 in the morning, because we were out gigging. So my body, dinner tastes real good right about now. Some of y'all can't afford to do that because you're going to wake up swole. Not me. I wake up sometimes more hungry than I am right now because my system is working overtime. Crunch, 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 crunch. Oh, he gonna be hungry. We're gonna make sure he hungry. We're gonna get him for this. We got to work at 2 a.m. We doing this overshift, this overtime. I wake up starving. Felicia, you still up? Lord, man, these Easterners, they still up. What's wrong with y'all? Go to bed. All right, y'all. I should be in bed. I got a funeral in the morning, and then I'm gonna go and treat myself to something nice. I haven't treated myself to nothing nice in a long time. Somebody had some lobster, some crabs today. I'm gonna treat. I can't do the crabs. No, I can't do the crabs. No, I'm gonna treat myself to something nice tomorrow. I think I owe myself a nice porterhouse steak. Thank you, whoever you are. Thank you. I'm gonna go to Ruth Chris maybe and get me a nice porterhouse. I deserve a break today. Hey, hit the share button, y'all. Okay. I love y'all. Thanks for staying up for me, with me. I appreciate it. I know you didn't like this sermon, but maybe I'll send you $1. Okay? It's backed by a promise. I promise you this $1. All right? It got some tape on it, but I don't know no store that won't take it. I'm going to say this to you. If you send me 10 of these back, I'm going to send this to you. I love y'all. Hey, Alexa, say good night to the people.
Good night. Talk to you tomorrow.
Ooh, something new. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Me and the woman going to bed after I eat. Bye-bye. Porterhouse.